Okay, hello, Joe Franco here, and this is my second video insight blog, or whatever you want to call it. And today is going to be a little discussion about my feelings and thoughts about a Facebook post I made a couple days back where I got some nice reaction from, but also a couple emails in response, and that wanted to learn a little bit more in detail exactly what do I meant, and does it really apply to majority of the competitors, and is there any ways that certain competitors can compete more. So the topic is, which I forgot to say initially, is how often should someone compete, and what are the downsides or the plus sides from competing often and year after year, and how long should I take a break. I'm not going to go into too much science or this and that, but let's just start off with a beginner competitor, and we can take that through a bikini to a male bodybuilder. Let's just cover it all. When someone first starts training, they're adapting pretty quickly, and they're seeing nice changes, and after about 2 or 3 years, say, all right, they want to decide to compete. Now, every time someone competes, I feel, at least from the beginning, they're not going to reach their ultimate conditioning level because it's new to their body. Okay. Now, there's some people out there that are freaks that will nail their first competition and be totally shredded, but most cases their bodies are resistant on going really low body fat levels. So with that said, you can compete, I feel, consecutive years, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years in a row, and you're going to see nice progress, because you can change your level of conditioning every year that you compete, therefore presenting a better package. In addition to that, I still think if you're a newbie, with not a whole lot of years under your belt, and your diet and your planning and weight training is just fine, you still can make some positive muscle gains from this first few years of competing year after year. But the issue that I think really lies, even for a beginner, is when they compete season to season and repeat that. Now, I'm not going to say that you can't do 2 or 3 shows in a row, because I think that could be a nice benefit, because what happens, say, all right, you want to compete in the fall and you have 2 or 3 shows lined up. Well, I'm not going to use the excuse the first one should be a warm-up, but you can make some nice tweaks to that. So going into your second or possibly third show within a month period of time, you will see a difference, as long as you're really tight with your diet and you know what you're doing, that you can fill out a little bit more, cut back on some of the intensity of the cardio so you have a better look. It's going past that time where the results will start being reversed, where you could go into a catabolic phase. If you're competing a few times 1 month and then you wait, and then possibly the following season, or I'm saying within the year, like you do a bunch of more shows. Well, that's when it gets really difficult, and that was really my point for the post. So, and I've seen it. I've seen people that will do a spring show, 1 or 2, wait a few months, pick it up again, do the fall. Well, you're really not gonna see that much change in your body unless you were really heavy to begin with and you lost a lot of body fat. You're not gonna making any of those muscle gains, because you didn't have enough time to increase your calories to recover from those shows. So really what happens, you end up spinning your wheels. Sure, competing is a great time and it's very addictive and you love being on stage, but you got to realize, if you want to make gains and you want to impress those judges, every time you go out there, you have to give yourself time to recover so you can make those gains during the off season, so you can learn your body a little bit more. So as a beginner, you can do 1 or 2 shows a year, I think, as long as they're grouped together for a few years in a row. But as we go along and you become more an experienced, competitor, things slow down. Your metabolism will slow down. The rate of losing body fat will slow down. It's just age. So it gets a little bit harder. So then, therefore, I definitely suggest you can compete every other year, because it gives yourself enough time to recover from the previous show. Now, take myself, for example. When I first started competing, I did 3 or 4 shows in a row, meaning 1 every single year. And then I took a little bit of break, competed. Then I took a huge break because, life got in the way. Got married, started a family, worked on my business. And then, I did a few more shows when I, found out about the OCB, received my pro card. Well, I had the same look when I did my first pro show compared to my pro card, and I was like, this is not good enough. I really need the time to recover. I really need time to make a difference in my physique if I want to be competitive with these pros out there. So I took 2 years off from competing, did a show, and then I took almost 3 years off. So the point is that you really need time to recover, because the more experience you get and the lower body fat levels that you'll hit, it's harder in your body. So you take most pro competitors, at least I think, I mean, sure, there are some freaks out there that can hold their conditioning for months, that have great muscle size. So if they lose a little bit, it's not going to be that evident on stage. There are a handful out there. So this is really for the masses of, the normal competitor, and not the super freaks that I like to call them. So I'll give you, when I competed last May, I was relatively lean the year before going in, and then the new year passed and I pushed it really hard. Well, in all honesty, it took me, about 4 or 5 months just to start feeling normal again. My hormones, and I'm guilty of this, although I knew what I was getting myself into, my hormones were whacked. My testosterone levels were down, and it was just evident, and I just wasn't myself. But when I started feeling better again just now, probably in the fall, my strength's coming back, feeling good. If I were to had to compete again in May, or there's no way I would be able to do it. Basically it would just be too hard on the body, mentally, physically, and I wouldn't see those gains. So that's really my take on it. If you're a beginner competitor, you can benefit from doing contests year after year. But the more experience you get, simply you're going to need more time. That's just my feeling. And this is coming from someone that more than half my income is now online coaching, not to mention, I promote shows. So I could tell anyone, I just couldn't sleep at night if I were to say, yeah, go ahead, compete. You want to do two or three shows here? Let's hang on. Let's do. No, you're driving yourself crazy, because my goal as a coach is obviously to put the best package that you're going to see, and sometimes you need that break to really develop the body, bring up any weak points and really push through. I've seen, when I first started promoting my spring show, I had a woman compete in that show, do my summer show. The next year, again, competed in my spring show. She had a coach. I respect him, but she actually emailed me asking me, well, what's going on? Why can't I just... And I said, well, and she had a beautiful physique, and I was like, you got to give yourself time, because, in her case, she had a lot of success in the beginning, and then she was trying to get her pro card. Well, she was just missing, but she was putting out the same look every single time, and just wasn't making that change, and you could tell it was wearing on her physically. Now, one of my emails basically that I received is, well, what about, bikini or figure competitors? Granted, some get, you'll get the IFPA figure competitors, and they're getting super lean now. They're carrying a good size of muscle, so I think a little bit more time will benefit them. But some other organizations where they're not as hard and as lean, they could string a number of shows together, even the more experienced, because they're not putting themselves through that catabolic state. Hopefully they're not messing up their hormones. And even for a bikini competitor, yeah, they're not as lean as a figure competitor, so they could string more shows together. But again, after you string those shows together, you're gonna have to give your body some time to recover, because if you wait a year, you're not if you to impress the judges, you have to make gains. You have to present a better package, and that's why we compete. To beat ourselves so we look better, not just do it for the fun of it. At least that's my take of it. I mean, we have fun doing it, but you would hope that as a competitor, I mean, it still is a competition, that we want to improve upon at least ourselves and see the results when we go on stage. So that really wraps, this whole little thing up that I had on Facebook the other day about, we love to compete, even though you love it so much, you got to give yourself the right amount of time. Granted, we're all a little bit different, but you have to figure that out for yourself after you do a couple shows and really weigh it out and think about, all right, if I give myself more time, I'm going to put a better package on stage. So there's a lot of variables. Okay, so hopefully this was a little insightful. Any questions or comments, always feel free to hit me up. Thank you.